Hello, denizens of the universe. I'm the Romance Scrooge, and joining me today are...
I saw nobody.
And TecXero.
And last week, the Steven Universe, or rather Stevenbomb, debuted, 2-3 weeks earlier than it was supposed to?
Yep.
I didn't know what it was scheduled for. I just watched it off of Kiss.
Yeah, it was scheduled for the last week of January.
I'm glad I didn't have to watch that or wait that long.
True that. How long has it been since the last Steven Universe was on TV? I think it was back in...
3 Gems and a Baby, December 1st.
December 1st. Okay. And then there's an entire month in between, and then 5 new episodes. And this is following the whole Month of Steven thing they had going on, where they had a new episode over the course of at least a couple new episodes every week for the duration of June or July, if I remember right. So you had the entirety of Season 3 premiere, entirety of Season 4, and then just starting now to creep into Season 5 or finish up Season 4 or whatever, trying to... Is Steven Universe on Season 4 or Season 5? I should know this.
I think it's Season 4.
To Wikipedia!
All right. With the newest Stevenbomb, quite a few things or interesting tidbits and ideas popped up.
Season 4.
Season 4. All right, so we're into Steven Universe Season 4, and the newest Stevenbomb led to viewers' first interactions or glimpse of Homeworld, or rather, the atmosphere around it. Or more specifically, a human zoo or menagerie floating... It's our first glimpse of Homeworld. Okay, so you have that.
There you go.
Blue Diamond appears for the first time, or rather, appears for the first time in modern day. There's interactions between Yellow and Blue. Just a whole lot of ground to cover and a whole lot of ideas to touch on. Not quite sure where to start.
Episode by episode or just general basis?
Let's just go on a general basis. Let it hop around because...
I mean, I think it could work just going from first episode right there, because Blue Diamond just showing up out of nowhere like that was kind of big.
That's true. Yeah, you have what comes across as a more bouncy, upbeat episode. Steven and his dad are going on a road trip, or no, what sent him on that? Okay, no, it starts out with Steven having weird visions and dreams. Apparently, touching more on Steven has some kind of telepathic connection with other beings and people. In this case, it's Blue Diamond. It's the first case we've seen this power associated with another diamond gem or sentient being, rather than just one of his weird sentient plant creations.
Or Lars.
Oh, don't remind me of that one. I like to pretend that episode doesn't exist, thank you.
Lars was a gem all along.
Okay, yeah, that counts as Steven having these weird mind link or body swap powers. Can I just go ahead and admit that I hate the episode The New Lars?
Oh, it's fantastically cringy.
That's one way to describe it, I guess. But moving on from there, you have a series of events where Steven, the cousin Andy, and Steven's dad go on an adventure to figure out where is this thing, this canopy, this walking canopy thing that Steven sees in his dream. Where is this from? Why are the gyms so scared of it? He wants to discover more about it. You go there, and you're just expecting Steven's going to explore this interesting alien-looking thing. He's just going to find something in the rack. It might be just interesting new discovery, more ambiguous tidbits about Homeworld. But no, you have Blue Diamond and Blue Pearl hanging out nearby. And there's not only the revelation of what this thing actually was, but Steven's mental link, or rather empathetic link, whatever you can describe it as, to Blue Diamond.
And not only that, when he was getting ready to go, it was built up because he had Garnet freaking out and saying that, somebody would be there.
I can't face her. Ah, her! Now I want to go even more. Ah, damn it. I shouldn't have said that.
Makes me wonder. Okay, so the first time we saw Blue Diamond was in the episode The Answer. And sapphires in general are considered one of these really high up bureaucratic classes in Blue's domain or whatever else. They're considered high class gems. What I'm wondering is why Garnet was so nervous about seeing Blue. Did she think that Blue would recognize her as the taboo fusion, or just some of the shame or something that would come attached with leaving Blue Diamond's court, or what kinds of consequences and such would be attached if she got caught?
Well, we don't necessarily know that was Sapphire that was that concerned about it. It might have been Ruby, because Ruby's the one that, that first encounter failed.
That's true.
Or probably some mixture of the two.
Yeah, probably some mixture between the two, but I could see, now that you bring it up, I could see more concern on Ruby's side of things. Sapphire, from the way that Holly Blue Agate and everybody else reacted to her, it seems like she can blend in fairly seamlessly and come across as generic Sapphire. But Ruby, if she says the wrong thing or brings up something, it's more likely that Blue would recognize her, because it's not every day that you see a Ruby acting out of line or failing to the point that she did. Ruby would be the one blamed for the taboo fusion and quote-unquote deflowering or corrupting one of her sapphires. There is that to consider, I guess.
Now, I was kind of curious about, them calling Agate, or Holly Blue Agate, Holly Blue, shortening her name or what she is. I have to wonder if there are some variations of nicknames throughout the gem, social structure.
There's bound to be at least a few, because it gets pretty confusing pretty quick calling all rose courses just rose quartz. They're all amethyst.
Well, we know that they were designated different numbers.
Yeah, there's the facet numbers.
Okay, yeah, on Homeworld, they're probably just classified by numbers. And actually, an interesting tidbit about Pearl referring to Holly Blue as Holly Blue Agate. I had a discussion with one of my buddies, Will. He's another guest that appears on here every so often. He mentioned that there's some kind of southern insult or friendly insult called Honey Boo or something like that it might have been a reference or play on of that.
Oh, what I was thinking more of is that I wonder if the amethyst from Earth ended up coming up with nicknames and called her that. Because I think they mentioned her by that at one point as well.
I believe they did.
Geez, I'm worse than Holly. Aren't we all?
Yeah, there we go. You've watched it far more than I have.
Twice. Just twice. I just have a really good memory for certain subjects.
Okay. I guess I can't say too much. That's how I tend to be with video games.
Coming back to the discussion about the first episode itself, so kind of touched on why Garnet didn't interfere there, or why she was so cautious about doing so, and then just how mysterious and ambiguous Steven's empathetic connection with Blue is. Of all the gems, why Blue? Is it because her emotions are the strongest, or
Well, it's more than likely due to the fact that it was Blue Diamond who summoned Sapphire to Earth, which Ruby was one of Sapphire's guard, and it was right in front of Blue Diamond that they first fused into Garnet. So, and then the whole court was all aghast and disgusted with the display of fusion with a different gem. And so there's probably a good deal of mixed negative emotions towards seeing someone like that or being in that presence.
As for Steven's connection to her, I wonder if that has something to do with the roses. Because he is still rose quartz to some degree.
that's possible. Just so much ambiguity there. It's an important plot point, just kind of touched on, and that's just about it. It could be a number of things.
Well, luckily there might be a few roses in the future for us to call upon.
I'm wondering if they'll release a couple from the bubbles. It'll be interesting to see if there's any, or what kind of variation there'd be amongst rose quartzes. Because there was a little bit of a deviation and differences between the amethysts.
Yeah, they still had kind of similar personalities to varying degrees. So I imagine that no matter how much the roses differ, they will probably still have some form of like a sympathetic personality.
Wouldn't doubt it. It'd just be interesting to see what kind of different, or what kinds of variations there'd be in regards to body type, height, etc.
It was like the skinny Jasper.
Yeah.
And her personality being a little bit more of a happier Lapis.
Yeah. Well, the only Jasper we knew of before was, well, the Jasper, and it seemed like she was more extreme due to the attachment she had to Pink Diamond and all that stuff. So I don't know if we can really go by her personality.
Well, since we got all the rubies, like the 5 rubies and stuff, I don't know. It's just one because all the rubies have varying different personalities to a degree.
Yeah, I imagine they they keep them somewhat similar. Because remember how Ruby talked about fusion with the other rubies? So I would imagine that their personalities are similar enough that even when they're fused, they don't really notice any differences. They still think as one, instead of creating a new being, just one larger being.
Cartoon guy, the whole idea of wanting Jasper to come back is having the Jasper that got corrupted to get uncorrupted come back. Just replacing her with skinny Jasper wouldn't be it'd be like slapping a band-aid over the problem. It wouldn't really work as a full-on replacement for most fans. I would like to see one of the amethysts come back to Earth though. if not all of them.
You guys wanted Jasper back? Well, here's Jasper. Jasper Light. Diet Jasper. Same look, different feel.
It'd be kind of funny if she just hung around the house and watched TV. And that's all she did.
Or like the Famethus comes down and they turn the TV on and Steven comes back. Like Steven comes back in the house and they're just like, no, and they're just in a shipping war because they've been watching Camp Fighting Hearts.
Oh no! Yeah, I have a great fake shippers argument with Peridot and Lapis being fans of such and so, then Amethyst and Jasper Light, for lack of a better name, arguing in favor of the other pair. Oh, I just thought of it. Okay, so you'd have Peridot and Lapis that'd be in favor of Percy and the other guy.
Pierre.
And, yeah, Percy and Pierre. And then Amethyst and Jasper Light would be like, no, it's not canon. If you're going to ship something, it has to be canon.
It'd be hilarious. They just won it over the entire Gemma Empire with just terrible soap operas.
Yes.
Steven goes to Homeworld with a VCR, plugs it into a Homeworld computer, and then the entirety of the series of Little Butler plays on TV, on their transmission.
Cats.
Little Butler.
Can you imagine Steven bringing the Camp Finding Hearts VCR up there, and then the Diamonds getting into a shipping war over?
This just seems to be like a little OVA, doesn't it?
Of course, we also need to see White Diamond. It's a 3-prong attack.
Yes.
On a slightly more somber note, I do have to wonder if the different diamonds are supposed to represent the different variations of grief.
Yeah, I got that on my list. No, wait, the diamonds fighting over which show is better. Little Butler, Camp Pining Hearts, or Crying Breakfast Friends?
Well, I don't think any of the Crystal Gems even understand Breakfast Friends, so...
Not even Greg understands it.
I don't really even understand it.
Someday, if I ever went to a con and got to meet one of the writers behind Steven Universe, I would love to ask what the Breakfast Friends running gag was all about.
I actually have to wonder if it's about Steven Universe itself, because it is kind of a show where they're all emotional and stuff, and that's kind of the whole thing with Steven Universe, is that it kind of deals with these emotions and these relationships in a more logical manner.
I've wondered about that myself, since they made a point of saying that Amethyst was Pear on the show, and Steven tries to get them all to take personality quizzes, if I remember right.
I will probably go quiet for a second because I'm fighting a little bit harder boss right now.
All right.
Well, actually, if you look at a good deal of the episodes that have the Crying Breakfast Pals, what the episode in the what the Breakfast Pals are crying about tends to be what the episode is about. Like during the Sardonyx arc. Yeah, during the Sardonyx arc, there was the whole like communication thing. It's like, I know. I said the wrong thing and did the wrong thing and made her angry. Now I don't know how to fix it. Why don't you try talking to her? would just, if I had the chance to cast a question, I'd just be like, yeah, where's White Diamond?
Oh, I'm sure she'll be coming. I just hope we don't have to wait another year to find out.
It's like, yeah, where's White Diamond? And then George R.R. Martin pops up. Don't worry, she's coming.
It's just there's a little thing where it's just like, yeah, we're hiring out a new writer to help Rebecca Sugar. Martin shows up.
I've got an idea for an episode.
Also, trying to talk and do this boss fight is terrible.
It's called the Red Gym Room.
Whenever it goes awkwardly silent, I have to wonder if you guys are looking at chat or something.
I had something interesting pop up on. Yeah, I'll discuss that later. But
and I was reading a funny line from a campaign someone had.
what's that?
It's like one of the Tumblrs I'm following. It's like your player said what? It's just funny lines people said during D&D sessions. Just a whole bunch of...
D&D is a great way to just go nuts.
I buy the strongest whiskey they have. The bartender's dead. I take the strongest whiskey they have.
Or like, there's going to be a virgin sacrifice. And while the other people are distracting the main villain, you go have sex with a woman so that way it can't be a virgin sacrifice anymore.
Or you do that, she's sacrificed, and the cultists are just like, wait, what's wrong? What happened? Why isn't anything happening?
No, you do it out in
then you pop out, then you pop out of the shadows. Ha!
I fucked her before you did.
You pop out. And then it becomes the ending of Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls.
I feel like there could be an Archer joke here, but I'm not smart enough for that.
Yeah, drawing a blank on. Definitely sounds like the kind of bear that make for an interesting Archer episode, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, that won't work.
In regards to the idea of the blue diamonds as symbolic of different phases of grief, you have yellow as vengeance, wrath, or just feeling angry about the entire situation. She just wants to, apparently, well, at least we have more grounds or insight into what her motivation is for being so determined to get rid of Earth or blow it up. It's a reminder of what happened to Pink. So she just wants to obliterate it and start moving on. As for Blue, she represents the sadness and just what kind of depression would come with the feelings of grief. As for White Diamond, that's just up in the air for her.
Yeah, I'm seeing White Diamond as either denial or bargaining. Like denial in a sense of she still believes Pink is alive and is just off and away trying to find another planet and isn't sending any communications, or bargaining in a sense of White trying to assemble a machine to fix broken gems, but just can't seem to get it right. And that's part of the reason for the creation of the cluster.
Or just because you're just taking it in a completely different direction where, she is none of those and just absolute the terrible thing that we think that Homeworld is. Because even though
so far you can really... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Because even with Yellow Diamond, we've gotten that point where she started seeming a little bit more human. We started seeing her more human side. I don't know a better way to put it. But with White, we could have anything. We could have just somebody that's grieving, closed off, or somebody who's just completely cold-hearted, and who knows? But it's kind of interesting. We haven't heard anything of her.
Yeah. Definitely interested to see where that particular plot thread leads.
Because even before we really got introduced to Blue Diamond, we still got little glimpses of her, especially with the introduction or the episode that revealed the origin of Garnet.
Well, I'm more interested in seeing a gem that's underneath White Diamond's authority, because the first glimpse we saw of Yellow Diamond was with Peridot, and the kind of person Peridot was. So a lot of fans are speculating on Yellow Diamond and what she must have been like. So seeing what a diamond or a gem under White Diamond's authority would probably help in that department. So if they don't give us White Diamond in this season, at least it would be nice if we can get a gem.
I'll be very curious to see where this goes.
Of course, now I'm thinking of like White Diamond's gems are like the Men in Black of gem world.
Well, it's pretty interesting to... All I can imagine now is just one of White Diamond's cohorts approaching Steven and co. while wearing a suit and sunglasses and say, just
pick two random gems.
Either that or holding up a memory eraser wand and saying, "You're coming with me," or "You're not supposed to know something," or "I need to wipe something from your mind."
I am the milkman.
Oh, now we're going all psychonauts here.
It's like, I'm Agent Pyrite and this is Agent Tiger's Eye. We have a few questions.
There's interesting potential in the idea of the diamonds representing different phases of grief. Just really tentative to go with that because, again, a lot of ambiguity as to how White Diamond might come across or what her reaction to Pink's death is. Not saying that it didn't have an impact on her, just what kind of impact.
Well, knowing Jessica Sugar, wait, is that her name? Sorry, I just had a brain fart.
Maybe in an alternate universe.
Okay, who am I thinking of now? Who's the creator of Steven Universe?
Rebecca Sugar.
Rebecca Sugar, there we go. So many different sugars. Anyway, knowing her writing style, it's very, very possible she's doing this to kind of subvert things. You know, we'll think we know White Diamond based on yellow and blue, but they can go a complete different direction with it.
White diamond. Yeah, I can. It's like you got yellow diamond as angry, blue diamond as sad, and then we have white diamond, essentially Pinkie Pie, but in a gem's body.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Jeez.
And every day's a party with white diamond. Technicality.
Gem and the Holograms references in the comments. Bound to pop up every once in a while, though, I suppose.
Jim is excitement.
In regards to how the diamonds are portrayed overall, there's been so much emphasis, either on the part of Jasper or Peridot, to present them as these almighty, invulnerable beings, to the point that you could consider them the always right queens or matriarchs, just something akin to a god. And then you have Yellow Diamond's number, and seeing the sort of proverbial cracks in their armor, this more human or emotional side to them.
Well, if you listen to Holly Blue gushing over Blue Diamond, and then after talking with Yellow Diamond, gushing over Yellow Diamond, of course I'm loyal to Blue Diamond, but if I was made for Yellow Diamond, ooh boy, you wouldn't see me complaining.
Yeah, they definitely regard them as gods, essentially.
It's tough to. Great. Now I want a comic with yellow and blue singing "It's tough to be a god."
But now I have to wonder how that affected the Gem Society when Pink Diamond was killed. A god being killed.
Well, probably some of the lower caste gems saw it as a inspiration.
That's only if they were unhappy with where they were at. Even the lower class gems seemed perfectly fine being what they are. That's what they were made for.
Supplemental material needed. There we go. It's the use of feeling blue.
That's such an awesome song.
I got it up on one of my tabs. Let's see.
This is going to turn into me, or you guys listening to me play a video game.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be at the moment. Sorry, I got really distracted for a second. And there's the obligatory cat cameo, I suppose. Tech is currently playing a game called... what's it called? I'm sorry.
Axiom Verge.
Axiom Verge. It has giant floating heads and stuff.
Yes, that's exactly what it's about. It's about giant floating heads.
Buy it now.
and I guess that's irrelevant. Okay, no, it's not relevant, but I'm going to use this as a means to transition back to the diamonds have floating arms as ships. Apparently on Homeworld, the preferred choice of transportation is some kind of spaceship that looks like a dismembered limb or some kind of limb, specifically hands.
And then when they get to base, it goes like they attach to a giant body.
You just want to Axiom, a Voltron crossover, don't you?
No, I'm thinking of it's like Spaceball 1 has become dun 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 Mega Maid.
Not sure what kind of docking bay they have for the arms, but interesting tidbit, as Steven and the Gems were flying away from the human zoo, Blue ship kind of had a graceful splayed fingers, kind of the way the hands were posed reflected the respective diamond's personality. Yellow Diamond's was in a fist, and Blue Diamond's kind of had this regal, fingers were splayed open kind of pose. Kind of an interesting tidbit there. Just wanted to throw that out there.
I didn't notice. Well, then again, the second time I watched it, I was mostly just listening.
Now we need Steven Universe by way of H.R. Geiger.
How so?
Oh, I was just thinking that the Gems kind of motif of, feminine style parts for all their structures and all this stuff kind of made me think of H.R. Geiger, but in a much nicer, friendlier looking fashion.
I would not discount that particular possibility. I can imagine some kind of biomechanical elements being implemented somewhere along the way.
Then again, it just might be because I'm playing Axiom Verge right now.
Whereas I'm thinking if they ever do like Homeworld and all that, they'll probably want to do it over an entire season. So Steven Universe in space, taking a bit of nods from the regular show.
I wouldn't necessarily discount it. One part of the most recent Stevenbomb that seems equally disturbing and interesting at the same time is the setup for the human zoo. So these humans are supposedly the descendants of the original humans that were brought there. And Tech, you brought up an interesting point about this when we originally watched through it.
Yeah, it was like,
how do they reproduce?
Yeah, we only saw one person there that might be able to pass off for a kid, but they just might be short. It's hard to tell. And otherwise, they didn't seem to have any concept for pain, which pregnancy tends to cause. I have to wonder if they just kind of artificially grow them at this point.
Yeah, more than likely that's part of what the choosing is.
Yeah.
It's that the voice picks them and then later takes them to a area where they are then harvested for their genetic materials, and then, hey, look, a new human.
wouldn't even have to go that far. Just be like, as soon as that zygote forms, they could probably just teleport it out of there into a tube. Because they do have teleportation technology.
Is this even considering that one of them would get inseminated or that there'd be any of that going on? Because you could technically just take samples from both of them, and they probably have the technology to create artificial wombs.
Who knows? Either way, it's just it seems like that they would go somewhere along this route or along that way, and I have to wonder if they keep them in a test tube past things like the teenage years and all that stuff until they get to the point where they can be easily controlled.
That may very well be the case. Another thing to note is that they all seem to be in a specific age bracket. So early young adulthood through the point that they still look really youthful and stuff like that. There weren't any old people there either. It's not just a matter of there aren't any babies, teenagers, or children there. There weren't any old people either.
That would go to support the theory of possibly them being harvested.
Or maybe there's a series of them, and they're all shuffled around based on age brackets.
Maybe. They definitely seem naive and trusting enough that if the voice told them to go to another pod as an old person, you probably have another pod somewhere with older, just as happy and oblivious people. God, thinking about it is kind of unnerving.
Also, with them being in such a sterile environment that's stress-free, and depending on what kind of food they get, they might also live a lot longer. So they might be, some of them, there might be old. They just still look young because there's nothing to drive them to the point of looking old.
That's possible.
Yeah, the lack of predators is a very worrisome issue due to the fact that, because of predators, evolution happens the way they do. And if these are early humans, then technically they kind of would have diverged differently from what we are.
Oh, yeah, very. I was also kind of surprised that there was any differences in their appearance, because at that point you think they'd be so blended together that they'd all pretty much look the same, no genetic diversity.
Which is probably what the choosing is that it's selective breeding for more perfect humans.
Oh, yeah.
Which then the gyms could probably use as a template for gym bodies. Like, look like this. Look like this!
I never really got the impression that they're directly trying to emulate the human form.
It would help them to be able to blend in order to be able to figure out what's going on.
They never really seemed that interested in trying to figure out what was going on with the humans. In fact, Blue Diamond thought they were so primitive by the way she talked.
That's true.
It could be there could be like an advanced scout of gyms searching out for various different planets that have the possibility for future settlements, and any of them, and if they come across any like intelligent species, the advanced team would shapeshift to look accordingly and try to figure out what's going on. And I don't know, maybe those gyms found the human form to be most the best type of form for whatever purpose they needed, and were just like, you know what, this is actually fine. This is actually preferable. I like this a lot better.
My theory around their form.
So then would corruption be their true forms?
I don't know about that.
I think corruption would be more of, just kind of their mental state, really. Poor mental health kind of thing. People that have, or in some cases, with people with poor mental health, they tend to have a twisted self-image.
That does seem plausible for the idea of what leads to specific kinds of corrupted forms versus otherwise. In regards to why the diamonds would pick humanoid forms, I'm kind of sitting in the camp of might have just been based off of the idea aliens are going to look humanoid. Let's go with that idea. That if there are any aliens, they have some kind of humanoid shape because of how convenient the bipedal form is. Or that this is the default form of the creature that reaches the top of the evolutionary food chain.
Yeah, I tend to subscribe to the idea that at some point the gems did naturally evolve over time before they got to the point where they just started manufacturing their own. And we can see that some gems seem to have some of that leftover stuff, like or leftover genetics, I guess you'd say. Like, why would a pearl be able to produce a weapon? And they have no need for that in that society.
Although the whole bismuth being able to upgrade their weapons thing through just basic creations kind of brings to question, are the weapons actually from their gem, or is it like part of them, or is it just an item they keep inside their gem?
I think it can be a mix of both. With bismuth, it definitely seems like, here's this thing that you form your weapon through, and it enhances it. Their weapons seem like a natural projection that they have.
I guess we'll have to probably wait for either an explanation in show or like one of those like side books, kind of like the Steven's Guide to the Gems and all that.
Oh, yeah. I haven't checked on those recently. I should see if there's any more of those.
Cartoon guy, in regards to your earlier question, I don't really I'm just going to go ahead and be brutally honest. I don't talk about couples I don't like because I'm just not interested in discussing it. I'm just not interested in going through this big long checklist of why I don't like how a certain couple is written, why I don't like this person and this person together. Just, I don't know. There's already enough people that make videos about why they hate this or why they dislike that.
It's more fun to talk about things that you do like.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it boils down to. I'd rather discuss something that I'm interested in. If I were going to be brutally honest, shipping corner videos are probably going to be fewer and far between because sometimes it's interesting. Just depends.
You'll probably make them when you have something to be passionate about.
Yeah, pretty much. When it boils down to it, more of the topics I've been wanting to discuss here recently worked on a recent discussion of Roger Rabbit's book versus the movie adaptation. Looking to do that with a couple of other book versus movie things as well, just playing some kind of compare and contrast. And just kind of having a general discussion about cartoons or how characters come across in general. Getting back to the Steven Universe discussion. Yeah, pretty much covered all I can really think of, or the most interesting tidbits that there'd be in regards to the human zoo. There's a lot of ambiguity around it. And actually, I'd like to bring up one of the interesting points, Blue Diamond seeing humans as primitive. Just another thing that came up in discussion, if you really look at how the diamonds hold and compose themselves, if you compare how Blue Diamond held and compared herself in the answer to present day, she's definitely a lot more grief-stricken and a wreck, but it doesn't seem like, in general, would it make sense to say that gem culture has remained fairly static? It might just be a case of their culture remains stagnant and static while their technology and population keeps growing. Sort of a discrepancy or difference between those two things.
Well, with how long-lived they are, they have no need to progress. Or at least not as much of a need.
Yeah, I guess the best example I could think of with that is like if you look at a lot of fantasy stories, like you've got the difference between elves who live thousands of years and humans who live barely 100. Humans have a level of technology that is like super high in comparison to ours, while elves are pretty much just living in the forest eating berries, and yet they live for thousands of years.
It's like Gem World has progressed quite a bit in the past couple thousand years, but the human progression seems a bit more exponential. It's just that the gems had a head start.
And with them living for so long, it's not like for humans, when someone of great importance dies, we lose pretty much any potential inventions or changes that they could have had. But with gems living for so long, they could go on to create for thousands of years.
And heck, they even managed to hold on to a grudge for a few thousand years. And grief.
Well, grudges aren't that hard to keep. The whole reason why my brother got me a Digimon card is because I held a grudge on him.
I'm doing good. Good to remember why I'm angry over something after a week.
Well, it's like my brother traded his entire binder album of Digimon cards plus my Gold Name Myotismon card for a red pen and a sticker back when he was in kindergarten. So then years later, because I keep mentioning that, he got me a Gold Name Myotismon card. Here, now stop talking about it. I was in kindergarten. Yeah, well, you shouldn't have touched my things.
Yeah, that's what little brothers are for, right?
No, they're for trying to figure out if, like, hey, go ask mom if we can do this. Why? Why? Because you're the younger one. She won't say no to you. Or she won't be suspicious of you.
I can relate to this.
Yes.
I'm the oldest of two siblings, so of three siblings.
Well, that and it's like, I wonder if this is dangerous. How about you go first?
I never had that problem. I just stayed home and played video games. Sat there with my Atari 7800 and all that good stuff.
Purple.
Okay, got an interesting comment in the comment section here. Everybody, who's your favorite of the pearls that have appeared on screen?
I had to stick with Mom Pearl there. She's just had so many good moments.
One vote for Bird. One vote for Bird Mom.
Well, we've got the most character development for that one, so It'll have to be that one, since all we know about Blue Pearl is that she's similar to Blue Diamond in that she's very depressive in a sense. I don't know, but Yellow Pearl just Yellow Pearl is that brat that just wants to please their superior.
Yeah, Yellow Pearl definitely has the best design.
Okay, if it were a challenge between Yellow and Blue Pearl, who would be the favorite?
To go with Yellow.
Blue.
Between those two, I like Yellow. She's just so ridiculously smug. I love the facial expression she pulls and just I just love that kind of uppity snobbery in a character. If it's done well, it's just great. It is so much fun.
I think it's done incredibly well because it really fits with who they, the diamonds they spend a lot of time with.
It definitely lends credibility to the idea that pearls are custom designed for their owners.
Either that or Yellow Diamond's just a bad influence.
I don't know. With some of the faces that Yellow Diamond can make, I definitely think she'd be quite the influence.
Keep making faces like that, it'll be stuck one day.
Okay, somebody needs to go through and redo every scene with Yellow Diamond and just make it so her face is stuck like the first time we saw her.
You mean that one really kind of meme-worthy face?
Yep.
Now imagine that singing "What's the Point in Feeling Blue?"
Cartoon Guide, that's an interesting point to bring up. It is kind of interesting to look at the size differences between the diamonds and their pearls. Just how big the diamonds are in general.
Well, given with how Jasper talked towards Amethyst, it definitely seems like size is kind of like a symbol of status.
Not surprised to see that pop up in Steven Universe, considering Peridot takes some inspiration from Zem, from Invader Zem. There was a whole, my tallest!
Oh, yeah.
Wait, so your leaders are just chosen by who's tallest?
Of course, it only plays somewhat of a role here, not a big one. Just bringing that up because
I still think it plays actually a fairly decent sized role. I mean, rubies are just the basic foot soldiers, and they're the smallest ones. Well, as that we've seen so far, anyway.
Yeah, because of the body modification, like the specific things in the ship, there were incredibly small specifications. So we might see gems like that soon.
Yeah, that's why I decided to append that.
I guess if anything, wanting to add on or elaborate on the Invader Zem thing, I could see some reference being taken from there, but unlike in Zem, where it's a point of satire or just a one-off joke, in Steven Universe, there's some relevance to height being a status symbol in gem culture and overall society and such. I wonder what the tiniest gems are.
I wonder what their uses would be. Wonder if they'd just be like some sort of intelligence gems or something like that.
It could be like on Ben 10, the gray matter. Those small little aliens. They're able to fit in the smallest area and the most intelligent species in the galaxy.
Either that, or maybe they're like some sort of swarm gems.
Like little pixies.
Yeah, by themselves don't do much, but a swarm of them could be very deadly.
That's an interesting idea to think about. First thing that comes to mind were those tiny parasitic creatures that were on the Transformers planet. What were those called in Prime again?
Oh, scraplets.
Wonder if there's a gem equivalent to that.
That'd be rather nasty. Gems that eat gems. I wonder if such a thing would exist, since gems don't necessarily have the desire to eat, or need to eat anyway.
Yeah, but they can if they want to.
Yeah. Though I had to wonder if that's another thing, if they did naturally evolve at one time, if that's something that's just kind of left over, or they needed to get nourishment from outside sources.
Like tiny little gems. Tiny little gems that are just like the gnomes and troll hunters.
Just little hoarders that speak gibberish and all that fun stuff. Then we need Steven to just befriend one and stick it into a little toy house.
Yes!
This is Jim Chomsky. Down. Binks.
Oh, actually, I forgot to pull up the chat. No, I don't think anybody really cares if I get on there or not.
Let's see. I guess favorite moment.
Oh, that had to be where Steven and Greg were being dragged to the Amethyst.
These the ones.
Well, at least they kind of have allies on the inside now.
Yeah, and then they go back to get the humans or something, and the Famethysts are just running the place, and Holly can't do a thing.
She's just sitting there, like, just stressing out and hiding in the corners, like, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay.
And just bleeding, just like, at least when Blue Diamond's here, could you at least act normal? Although there was a post that was kind of interesting on like Peridot, whenever she and Steven were first, like Peridot was in Steven's bathroom and Steven had that like towel whip. Considering how much of a drill sergeant Holly Blue is, and she's got a whip, chances are Peridot and the agate that trained her was also like, maybe agates are the ones that teach and train new gems, and they all have whip weapons. And Peridot still probably has a good deal of fear from that.
Kind of a PTSD.
Yep. Oh, crap. Is it I before E?
Hey, PC, I don't think these leaks are on purpose. The way Cartoon Network had this set up, when they released the episodes early on the app, it was an incentive to try and get people to watch the app because Steven Universe is a popular cartoon. Of course, when a network releases something early like that, somebody's going to rip it and put it up on a third-party site or a pirate site or whatever else. Everything that's happened in regards to Steven Universe and leaks, I'd say that it's purely coincidence. Considering how huge the fandom is, somebody's going to get their paws on the episode, and of course there's going to be somebody who circulates it.
And yeah, they're probably not too worried about it, or else they wouldn't upload it. You know,
Pretty much.
I mean, I'm sure that their marketing team isn't so stupid to be like, "Oh, nobody will rip this."
There might be some foreknowledge of that. Might be writing on it a little bit. I just don't see it as outright intentional or to the point that they're depending on it, or just something as an afterthought or something kind of floating around.
Well, what exactly did that commenter say?
Here's PC's comment. Do you think CN could be leaking Steven Universe episodes on purpose? Because this is the third time a bunch of new episodes have been leaked.
Probably not, because they can't. That's just going to go onto piracy sites, and sure, it might create some, buzz about the show. But for the most part, it's just people that are pirating it that's going to be watching it, so they're not going to make anything off of that.
That, and for the people who do watch it, they'll have less incentive to watch it when it premieres. So then there'll be lower ratings.
Yeah, but the only way I could see it having anything positive to it is it'll create a little bit of buzz, and other people looking in could be like, "Oh, hey, some new Steven Universe stuff is coming up soon." People that don't really watch piracy sites or anything like that.
Yeah, I'd say they could just advertise for it, but then again, with Cartoon Network's constant 6-hour blocks of Teen Titans Go, I'm not sure any Steven Universe fans are watching Cartoon Network for an extended period of time.
Yeah. Cartoon Network and Disney really need to get onto the internet bandwagon. You stop charging for watching on their sites.
PC, the big thing that you could chalk up to Steven Universe being the most consistent one that gets leaked is that it's Cartoon Network's third most popular show.
Technically. Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised that Cartoon Network hasn't tried to kill it off yet.
The show or the leaks?
The show. Because we've seen plenty of networks, a show that doesn't come out consistently and all that good stuff, they usually try to kill it off.
Or in the case of Gravity Falls, they stall it and delay it to try and convince the creator to make more.
Yeah. Or they make the schedule go over the place. That way they can broadcast them in the wrong order and people be lost and confused, and they just end up killing it off anyway.
Which, if Disney really wanted to keep Gravity Falls around a lot more, something they could have done is, I don't know, let's see, merchandise.
Yep. Or hire a different team that's willing to do it.
Like, they could have had a lot of merchandise instead of, like, the merch that they have with their other shows that are pretty crappy.
When you were talking about airing episodes out of order or anything like that, would this happen to be a reference to what Cartoon Network did with Young Justice?
No, actually, I was thinking of Firefly.
Oh, okay.
Although re-airing episodes is one of those things where it's like Disney's claiming that the reason why they are fine with only 2 seasons of Wander Over Yonder is because they get more money out of reruns. But if you look at Disney XD and Disney, there are no reruns. So where's the truth, Disney? Pull the other one.
Yeah. Now, both Warner Brothers and Disney are kind of dicks when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
It feels more like instead of, giving us great cartoons, they're more of holding great cartoons for ransom.
That's an interesting point to bring up, Cartoon Guy. Apparently, Ronaldo knew about the Human Zoo, and this is Steven Universe related. I need to look back through some of Ronaldo's dialogue because they pretty much had him reveal the plots for future seasons, and
they've turned us all into Ronaldo.
pretty much.
Oh no, he said a there instead of an. Could that mean something?
I definitely think that Ronaldo's kind of a jab at, some of the more extreme fans.
Oh, yeah.
And because we write him off as a conspiracy theorist, they are able to, like, pretty much pepper in a spoiler, and then we don't realize it until it happens.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be revealing any other spoilers, though, because they know the fans are on to Ronaldo, and they're looking specifically at every line of dialogue, every scene he's in, hoping to find something.
Maybe they start putting his dialogue. He still makes references to it, but they make it so his dialogue, you have to rearrange in a specific algorithm and all this nonsense.
So pulling what Alex Hirsch did with the ciphers and the background elements in Gravity Falls.
If you take the first letter of each word that he says in a sentence and rearrange them using the @bash cipher, and then cross-referencing that in the veneer cipher with the code word gems or crystal or whatever background word you see next to them, we find out that the true villain this whole time was...
Is this Frog Fractions too?
I have no idea. Nah, I was hoping I'd be able to come up with a joke by the end of that statement.
I've just been in a Frog Fractions mood lately. Thanks to Glittermitten Grove. This Metroid's beating my ass. And it beat my ass.
Can't say Metroid. What do you mean? It's that universe and this universe are totally not connected.
I'm playing AM2R right now.
Well, now I'm considering doing another run through of Kid Icarus Uprising. That game was so good.
I got disconnected for whatever reason.
Discoed from what?
Disconnected from the call.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Huh.
Nintendo must be on to me. They don't want me touching AM2R.
Cartoon guy comparing fans to Ronaldo is pretty accurate. Every other Steven Universe video I see pop up in my recommended or even on the front page, it's picture of Lapis or something, and then somebody over analyzing, look at that grain of sand in the background. It's actually white diamond. Or
could this mean that desert
ridiculous.
glass? Could this mean that desert glass was once a lapis lazuli?
Yeah, just ridiculous, absurd stuff like that. Just there's got to be a line drawn in the sand somewhere with the theories.
Sand, desert glass.
People looking for clues where there are none. Somebody finds what they think is a clue to white diamond in the first episode, and just nonsense.
Yeah.
Cookie Cat. And it turns out White Diamond was the inspiration for Cookie Cat.
The one on-screen appearance we've seen of White Diamond.
She's the CEO of Lion Liquors.
That would be pretty great.
She's playing the long game at getting back at Rose.
Rose made Cookie Cat, so White Diamond made Lion Liquors.
I was like, Rose likes Cookie Cat. So now we have to get rid of it.
And people thought Yellow was a business-savvy mastermind.
No, she's just military.
In regards to White Diamond, there technically has been there's a mosaic with her, and then there's the background decorations implying that Rose had some kind of showdown with her at some point, so there have been a couple of allusions to White Diamond. We just haven't seen her appear in person yet. Cartoon guy, Cookie Cat being based off of the gem seems fairly likely. The show definitely has several thematic in-show ties to the overall plot and what they're working with. As discussed earlier, there was the Breakfast Friends being parallels to the main characters, or even outside commentary on Steven Universe being a more emotional show. So I'm guessing Cookie Cat was one of the first attempts at having in-show wink wink nudge nudge kind of things.
Cookie Cat, you left his family behind. Cookie Cat, now available at Gervin's off Route 109.
I do have to wonder if the show will eventually kind of bring back the more magical element. Because early on, it seemed like the gems were magic. They definitely had, like Garnet trying to get rid of that spell and turning into a waffle monster and all that good stuff. But then they kind of abandoned that later on. They went more with an idea of them being just really high tech.
It could be like in the Thor movie, where it's like magic is just highly evolved technology.
Yeah, but then you have Garnet needing to burn the phone because he took a picture of the thing.
I also have to destroy this.
Yeah.
And of course, now with Doctor Strange involved in actual magic, so maybe cross for both.
Then we get Doctor Strange working together with the Hulk and just all that kind of stuff.
Hulk smash.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about the more recent animated movie of Doctor Strange and the Hulk.
I don't think I've seen that.
It wasn't too bad. It's kind of a shame that the live-action movies with the Hulk, they always depict him as a stupid brute. But in actuality, he's only a stupid brute for the first few months he was with Banner. After that, he became really intelligent.
Yeah, it's like in Earth's Mightiest Heroes. There was a scene where Iron Man was like looking at some radiation data, and he's talking about it, and he's just like, "Oh, well, why am I discussing it with you?" And then Hulk's like, "It looks like gamma radiation." Which Tony's like, "No, you're right, it does."
Yeah. It was like as soon as Banner accepted the Hulk, their minds kind of started becoming more one. You know, Hulk became a lot more intelligent after that.
Which is one of those sad things. Why every time they make a Hulk movie, it's always him versus the Abomination.
Yeah, or him just being big, dumb, strong guy.
Which is why I would love it if they actually made a sequel and had him fight the leader.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Could go what is that, Gamma World or something like that? Where leader takes over the whole world.
But they probably won't ever do that.
Who knows? Marvel's pulls some pretty awesome stuff sometimes. Then other times it's disappointing.
Yeah,
case in point, Mandarin.
Case in point with the awesome Guardians of the Galaxy. Case in point with the disappointment, the Mandarin.
Yeah, exactly. At least they're still doing better than DC.
Yeah, movie-wise.
Yeah, DC tends to do better animation. But then you also get the first half of Killing Joke, which wasn't that great.
It was mostly because they got like Bruce Timm and Paul Dini on their side.
That's just the first half of it was just pointless. Second half was awesome, though. In fact, I think you could take the second half of the movie, just say it's a standalone movie, and nobody would notice the difference.
Yeah, because essentially that's what the graphic novel is. Like, you could just cut the first half and just be like, whatever, and then just, bam, second half. There you go. That's the actual movie.
Yeah. The first half just kind of seems so cookie cutter.
Yeah, it's one of those disappointing things, like when Marvel was bought by Disney, and because of that, Spectacular Spider-Man and Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes got canceled and replaced by Ultimate Spider-Man and Avengers Assembled. And it's like, No.
Those were terrible. Earth's Mightiest Heroes was so good.
Spectacular Spider-Man was great.
No, I wasn't big on Spectacular Spider-Man, but Earth's Mightiest Heroes I absolutely loved. But you also get Warner Brothers deciding to cancel or end Young Justice and Green Lantern for Beware the Batman and what was that other one? Teen Titans Go.
The whole reason. What's that? Women are watching the show and actually like it and are more of and are a larger part of the demographic. We can't have that. Take it to the chopping block.
It's not selling toys. I guess we can't do anything else other than just cancel it.
Women don't buy toys, when in actuality they are buying them.
That was so disappointing.
That was one of the reasons why Symbiotic Titan got canceled.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just kind of have this mentality that if there's a show I like, it's probably going to get canceled. That's why I'm worried about Steven Universe.
Jeez.
Well,
I
I
hate
was
to say that, but that may be a bit of a legit worry.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was worried. How to phrase it? Let's see. When I first started watching Harvey Beaks, I was worried. I was like, "This is really good," and it's on Nickelodeon. Well, this is probably going to last maybe a season and a half.
Well, in the
started
case
watching.
Sorry.
No, go.
In the case of Harvey Beaks, it wasn't necessarily that Nickelodeon canned it. C.H. Greenblatt decided to end it at the end of season 2, but there was an issue on Nick's part where they aren't airing it all that often. Heck, CH he made a post about this, and he's appeared on Pan Pizza's Pizza Party podcast talking about this in length.
Yeah, I'm just surprised Nickelodeon's also let Loud House survive as long as it has.
Kind of wondering how much longer that one may be on the air. But then again, probably shouldn't. I don't know. I have no idea what goes on behind the scenes or what shows a network exec would greenlight versus other ones and why they made the decisions they did with Harvey Beaks. Definitely one of the most interesting theories I've seen put out there is that it doesn't reach the SpongeBob standard. This was from a Pie Guy Rules video I watched recently, or somebody used this particular term, that if it's not immediately a smash hit like SpongeBob, no, this was from Rebel Taxi 2. But continuing on with this point, if the show isn't a smash hit like SpongeBob from the get-go or within the first season or so, it gets put up onto Nicktoons Network and left there to rot, for lack of a better term.
I just hope that if any good cartoons get canceled, like a lot of them have been, then nowadays there's a chance that Netflix might pick them up, like they did with Star Wars Clone Wars.
That's true. Netflix is definitely a possibility. I've seen a couple of rumors circulating around that Young Justice got picked up through a dealio like that.
Yeah, Netflix seems to get it that, hey, there might be some adults watching these cartoons too.
Hey, this was a good show, and it got canceled with unjustly. And their fans are outraged. Well, I know how to get a lot of money.
I think everybody already has a Netflix account, though. They probably won't make extra money from it.
Nope.
But don't tell them that. I want them to pick up more stuff.
Yeah, but there's also the whole issue of one way for these companies to make a lot more money is, well, let's see, giving us complete seasons or complete series on DVD.
Oh, that's I hate it when networks do that. They'll put something up on Netflix for only like a month and they'll take it off, or they'll put almost a full series on there except for the last 10 episodes. And you have to go buy. Then once you go buy them to finish it up. I think they did that with.
Go ahead.
I think they did that with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
They've done that with several anime. Hunter x Hunter is on there for, I think, at least 100, 200 episodes. If you want to finish it up, you have to go to Crunchyroll or Hulu. Actually, no, just Crunchyroll, because I think Hulu pulled a similar dealio.
Yeah, because I'd pay no more than $50, but no less than $35 for a complete series of Pepper Ann. It's like, come on, Disney, that's guaranteed money for you.
Heck, I'm fine with sitting through ads if a website or a network is letting me watch their stuff on their website.
Just as long as it's ads in between episodes. Like, I don't want to get to my favorite part and then it cuts to an ad. Oh, it's that line I really liked as a kid. And so then I said, cut to ad. Hey, kid, you want to buy some GAC?
I hate it when it doesn't line up with the commercial breaks.
Yeah.
But it seems like ads might be a dying breed because everybody keeps using ad blockers, so every site will just start charging people.
Pretty much.
Either that, or they'll start doing the thing that Twitch has been talking about, which is embedding the ads themselves into the video. So the only way to skip the ad is to skip the video.
I hate that feature.
I don't really blame them for wanting to do that. I mean, with how prominent ad block has become. You also have a bunch of YouTubers that are doing sponsored deals instead because YouTube ads don't give anything anymore.
Pretty much. If anyone's going to make a living through YouTube, your best bet is pretty much to go seek out a sponsor. Biggest ones I've seen, depending on what kind of content you make, Audible and Loot Crate.
Or that, or if you have a big fan base, Patreon.
Yeah, but those...
Patreon is really a dice roll. It's only worthwhile if you already have a big bunch of followers already. And yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad route, just something you really got to map out and plan. But then again, you're more likely to get sponsors if you have a big amount of viewers and followers at that too. So...
Yeah, it definitely seems like the online space is going to become a bit more crap. I can't think of the right word for it, but people are definitely going to have to find out a better way to do stuff at this rate.
Pretty much.
Though a lot of people have been doing stuff over on YouTube Red, which is a bummer because I don't want to pay for YouTube Red right now.
Yeah, every time I see an ad for YouTube Red in the theaters, I'm just like, none of these shows are appealing to me. Stop showing me this ad. I don't care.
Vsauce has been doing some interesting stuff, which I tend to like their stuff, but I really shouldn't be buying other things right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to save up to go to a convention for the first time.
I'm trying to fix my van.
Cartoon guy, in regards to, well, I don't know if I necessarily call myself popular, but whatever led to a spike in views, I'm tempted to say it was when I started talking about Steven Universe. Either my video about the first Stevani episode or Garnet and Jailbreak. One of those two. I'd say the key is, if you're hell-bent on doing this, keep an eye out on what popular cartoons are and time making a video about that particular topic when the show's about to come back. It's not a guarantee, though. I'm not going to give any guarantees. I'm just saying, if you're going to approach this with any kind of strategy, that'd be it.
Definitely seems like the people that do well are people that make sure to have good quality stuff and have managed to luck into finding the right thing.
And tied into what's coming out, much like most of the Film Theory channel.
Even then, they might not stay popular for very long unless they can manage to transition into something else that's going to be a bit more long-lasting.
Cartoon guy, I'm just going to come right out and say this. I don't know if reviewing more Steven Universe episodes would be the best bet here. If anything, I'd suggest looking for something that's an up-and-comer, not Steven Universe. Steven Universe has an overglut of reviewers. Everybody and their idiot brother is talking about it right now. I'm not saying don't review it. Just pepper in some stuff that's not quite as popular or kind of in the public eye.
For Steven Universe, there's already the established people, talking about it. You have to find something that people aren't talking about yet.
Yeah, that kind of thing is a pain in the ass. Once you have the established group of people, it is hard to get up there next to them. It is hard to get yourself out there as one of the premier people to go to that's discussing it. Hell, I wouldn't call myself one of the big channels that people would tune into.
I'd say make better quality ones for longer form, for like smaller, newer stuff, and make shorter, brief ones for newer, like say a review of an episode of Steven Universe in 2 minutes or less. Make it quick pace, make it fast, and make a few jokes. You get that out of the way, you get a few brief views, maybe some interest in the channel, like 1 minute reviews and stuff, that kind of quality. And then do longer form for things that you're actually interested in.
That's actually some pretty solid advice in regards to setting up videos. Even if you don't get a lot of viewers, if you're making format about stuff you're interested in, you're going to be in the game longer. You're more likely to outlast the guys that are just flash in the pan. I'm going to be a Steven Universe reviewer. Fuck yeah. And then once Steven Universe starts losing traction, they're looking at their subscribers and viewership going, what happened?
Or it's during the hiatus moments, and it's like, what do I talk about now?
Or you just go the cheap and easy route and just do top 10 videos of Steven Universe. Or reaction videos, even better.
Yeah, reaction videos, Steven Universe. Oh, ride the coattails or take a few notes from all these guys who have screenshots plastered saying, what's Laugh is Lazarly's secret? And then really go on this ridiculous tangent about just conspiracy tinfoil hat territory.
Or you could do top 10 of the best Steven Universe reaction videos.
Yes. What were your plans for starting up a YouTube video again, Tech?
Oh yeah, I was jokingly talking about making a YouTube channel called, I was like some generic guy or YouTube guy or something like that, and just do a top 10 video of top 10 videos. It wouldn't actually surprise me if somebody's already done that, though.
Oh, I swear
Isn't that-
everything's been done.
Top 10 videos of top 10s. I'm pretty sure Watch Mojo's done that.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, fine. I need to make a reaction video of that top 10 video.
Okay.
And then make a video. Every time this person reacts to a top 10, it gets faster. But then every time it gets faster, the line "Do you like jazz?" from the B movie trailer plays. And every time it to the last Z, we are number 1 place, etc., etc., etc.
Oh, there's a B movie video with the jazz line set up to where it sounds like the Seinfeld theme song.
Let's see, another video, unique. Well, I wouldn't say unique. Idea would be like maybe theorize what happened between episodes with certain things. Like if they don't give us an episode about like Peridot and Lapis protecting Beach City while the crystal gems were away, then come up with some crazy idea of what happened, what could have possibly have happened. Maybe even throw Connie in there, since Steven asked Connie to protect Beach City as well. Like, so then you're talking about a non-existent episode of Lapis, Peridot, and Connie protecting Beach City from this gem monster.
Another potential video idea. You know how the CinemaSins setup is popular? Just make the umpteenth channel based off of CinemaSins.
Ronaldo was correct again.
In regards to what happened with MLP reviewers, that's actually what I was basing my point off of. You have this big laundry list of people that were popular for specifically discussing My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and the ones that continue to be successful or popular, they moved on to discussing other topics. Like Digibro, for example, he moved on to discussing anime and such at length.
Yeah, there's also a few other circumstances that led him to the switch. And then like Tommy Oliver switching over mostly due to his outrage with the show at current. But a good deal of the reviewers, like for the MLP stuff, that I still stick around for, like Silver Quill, he also does things that are like other subjects than just the episodes.
Sounds like something interesting is going on there.
Cat's being fed.
Ah, okay.
Oh, okay. That mention of an episode following Lapis and Peridot holding down the fort or fighting a gem beast while the crystal gems were away. I want that to be an episode now. That'd be great.
That'd actually be a great setup for another episode.
Well, I saw a comic where Peridot and Lapis are watching Camp Pining Hearts back at home, and you can see in the distance Beach City, and then like a giant Godzilla monster appears, and then you see a giant water hand forming and smashes it, and it kind of floods Beach City, and then Peridot and Lapis are just like, we're so good at this. And they didn't, and the entire time they did not look away from the TV.
Yeah, Lapis is definitely insanely strong.
That she is.
Well, they'd have to be terraformers.
Oh, is that what they are?
Well, that's what Yellow Diamond said in her song. A Lapis terraforms.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that.
Which actually, considering their water ability, makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, both the water, like, I guess lapises and desert glass work together. Provided the desert glass is an actual gem and not like an item or a weapon.
Yeah.
We're bound to find out soon. At some point. All right, it is 8:46 Central Standard Time, so going to wrap this up. Any last Steven Universe related comments or anything in general?
Nothing I can think of.
Pretty much touched on all the major topics I personally really wanted to. Blue Diamond, Yellow and Blue Diamond, some comments about the human zoo. There's a lot of ground to cover, but I kind of just want to shelve some of those topics for now and wait to see how they play out.
Yeah, speculation is fun, but we won't really know what will happen until it happens.
I swear the next episode should be the whole Lapis, Peridot, and Connie protecting the city, and then like Steven and the gems and stuff come back to Earth at the end of the episode and see everything's on fire, and Lapis is just, and Peridot's just like, well, we tried.
No, I wanted to think that they were successful, but they just have no concept of what, like, property damage.
It's like that screenshot with SpongeBob and Patrick, and the city's burning, and SpongeBob and Patrick are just like, we did it, Patrick. We saved the city.
So Peridot and Lapis have as much reference for property damage as Superman when he was first starting out.
or the DC animated universe in general.
Next episode of Steven Universe. Lapis and Peridot learn what property damage is. Alrighty, going to end right there. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Good night.
Aloha.
Have a good night.
Aloha.